What would you do if a simple traffic stop suddenly made an entire governor's motorcade come to a complete stop? It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But imagine standing on the side of a quiet highway, watching black security vehicles appear one after another, all because of one driver who never raised his voice. You might think you already know what happened. Trust me. You don't. Stay with this story, because no one, not even the officer, could have guessed who that quiet man really was. It was just after 8 o'clock on a cool Monday morning. The sun had barely climbed over the trees, and traffic moved smoothly along Highway 17. Most people were thinking about work, morning coffee, or getting home after a long night shift. Nothing seemed unusual. Then a flashing set of blue lights broke the calm. A dark blue pickup truck slowly pulled onto the shoulder. The driver didn't speed away. He didn't argue. He simply turned on his signal, stopped the truck, and rested both hands on the steering wheel. Inside the truck sat Marcus Hill. He wore a plain gray jacket, faded jeans, and an old baseball cap. His truck was clean but far from expensive. To anyone passing by, Marcus looked like an ordinary man on his way to another ordinary day. Officer Daniel Brooks stepped out of his patrol car with the confidence of someone who believed he had already figured everything out. He adjusted his badge, straightened his uniform, and walked toward the truck with slow, steady steps. Marcus lowered his window before the officer even reached him. "Good morning, officer," he said with a calm smile. The officer barely nodded. "License and registration." Marcus handed them over without hesitation. Everything about him seemed relaxed. Too relaxed. Officer Brooks looked at the documents, then looked back at Marcus. Something about the man's calm expression bothered him. Most drivers became nervous during a traffic stop. Some talked too much. Others apologized before they even knew the reason they had been stopped. Marcus did neither. He simply waited. The silence felt strange. The officer glanced inside the truck. There were no boxes, no bags, no messy back seat. Just a neatly folded jacket, a travel mug, and a small notebook resting beside the center console. "Where are you headed this morning?" Officer Brooks asked. Marcus answered politely. "Just taking care of a few meetings." "What kind of meetings?" Marcus smiled again. "Just work." The answer sounded simple. But somehow, it wasn't enough for the officer. He studied Marcus for another moment, as if waiting for him to make a mistake. Instead, Marcus remained perfectly calm. Not nervous. Not angry. Just patient. Officer Brooks returned to his patrol car, but instead of writing a warning, he picked up his radio. After a brief pause, he quietly requested additional information on Marcus's driver's license. A few seconds later, the dispatcher answered. Her voice sounded normal at first. Then she suddenly stopped speaking. For several long seconds. There was nothing but silence coming through the radio. Officer Brooks frowned. Something had just changed. He didn't know it yet. But those few seconds of silence were about to turn an ordinary traffic stop into a morning that everyone on that highway would remember. Officer Daniel Brooks stared at the radio for another second. The dispatcher had never gone silent like that before. It was almost as if someone had interrupted her. Then her voice returned, but this time it sounded careful. "Unit 12, please confirm the driver's full name." Brooks frowned. He had already sent the information. "I just did," he replied. There was another pause. "Please confirm it again." Brooks looked down at the driver's license. Marcus Hill. Silence filled the radio once more. Marcus remained inside the truck, watching through the side mirror. He didn't try to leave. He didn't reach for his phone. He simply waited, as though delays like this didn't bother him at all. That calm expression only made Officer Brooks more suspicious. He walked back to the truck. "Step out of the vehicle, please." Marcus slowly opened the door and stepped onto the shoulder. The cool morning breeze moved through the trees, and passing cars slowed as drivers tried to see what was happening. "Is there a problem, officer?" Marcus asked politely. "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Marcus nodded without arguing. "I understand." There was something unusual about him. Most people would have started asking questions by now. Some would have complained. Others would have looked nervous. Marcus did none of those things. He simply stood beside his truck with his hands visible, looking completely at peace. Officer Brooks circled the pickup, checking every window and every corner. Everything looked ordinary. The license plate matched. The registration was valid. The insurance was current. Nothing was wrong. Yet Brooks couldn't shake the feeling that something didn't add up. His eyes stopped on a small black phone resting inside the truck. It wasn't the newest model, but it looked different from an ordinary phone. It sat inside a heavy protective case with no visible company logo. "What kind of work did you say you do?" Brooks asked again. Marcus smiled. "I help people solve problems." "What kind of problems?" "The kind that need careful planning." It wasn't really an answer. Brooks folded his arms. "You're being very mysterious." "I don't mean to be." Before Brooks could respond, the phone inside the truck lit up. The screen flashed for only a second before the call ended. Marcus never reached for it. Officer Brooks noticed. "Aren't you going to answer that?" Marcus calmly shook his head. "If it's important, they'll call again." That answer somehow made the officer even more uneasy. Just then, another patrol car pulled onto the shoulder. Officer Lisa Carter stepped out. She walked over quietly. "Everything okay?" she asked. Brooks kept his eyes on Marcus. "I'm not sure yet." Lisa looked at Marcus for only a moment. He smiled politely and greeted her. She returned the smile without thinking. For some reason, she didn't see a dangerous man. She saw someone unusually confident. As Brooks continued questioning Marcus, a deep rumble echoed across the highway. At first it sounded like distant traffic. Then it grew louder. Drivers ahead began slowing down. Several people pointed toward the road behind them. Officer Brooks turned around. Far down the highway, a line of dark vehicles appeared over the hill. Black SUVs. Perfectly spaced. Moving together. Their flashing escort lights reflected across the morning road. Brooks narrowed his eyes. "This can't be for us." But as the convoy came closer, the lead vehicle suddenly switched lanes. And began slowing directly behind Marcus's truck. The convoy continued moving closer, and the sound of the engines grew louder with every passing second. It wasn't speeding. It wasn't rushing. It moved with perfect order, as if every driver knew exactly where to be. Officer Brooks felt a strange knot form in his stomach. Convoys like this didn't appear on ordinary highways without a reason. Cars in both lanes slowly pulled aside. Drivers lowered their windows, trying to see what was happening. Some even stepped out with their phones, recording the unusual scene. Marcus stood quietly beside his truck, his hands relaxed by his sides. His expression never changed. Officer Brooks glanced at him. "You know anything about this?" Marcus looked down the highway for a brief moment before answering. "It looks important. Don't play games with me." "I'm not." The officer searched Marcus's face for fear, but he found none. There wasn't even surprise. It was almost as if Marcus had expected something unusual to happen. That thought made Brooks even more uncomfortable. The lead SUV slowed almost to a stop, followed by every vehicle behind it. One after another, the black SUVs lined up neatly along the shoulder, creating a scene no one on that highway had ever expected to witness. Officer Lisa Carter whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." Neither had Brooks. His radio suddenly came alive. "Unit 12. Report your exact location immediately." Brooks grabbed the microphone. "Highway 17, mile marker 42. The dispatcher answered almost instantly this time. "Remain where you are. Do not leave the scene." Brooks frowned. "Why?" There was another pause. "We're confirming information." That wasn't an answer. The officer looked back at Marcus. "You've been very calm since I stopped you." Marcus smiled politely. "I've learned that staying calm usually helps everyone. You still haven't told me what you really do." Marcus looked at the quiet line of SUVs. "Maybe you'll understand soon." Those 5 words echoed in Brooks's mind. Maybe you'll understand soon. Before he could ask another question, the rear door of the first SUV slowly opened. Every conversation on the highway seemed to stop. Even the passing traffic became strangely quiet. 2 security officers stepped out first. They wore dark suits and earpieces, scanning the area with calm, practiced movements. They weren't looking frightened. They were looking prepared. One of them spoke quietly into a microphone attached to his collar. Within seconds, several more security officers stepped out from the other vehicles. None of them rushed. None of them drew attention to themselves. Their discipline was almost unsettling. Officer Brooks straightened his uniform, suddenly aware that dozens of eyes were now watching the traffic stop. His confidence began slipping away. Officer Carter leaned closer and whispered, "Do you think they're here because of him?" Brooks wanted to say no. He wanted to laugh at the idea. But deep inside, He wasn't so sure anymore. Then something happened that made the entire highway fall silent. One of the suited security officers looked directly at Marcus. His serious expression immediately changed. He smiled with unmistakable respect. Then he walked straight toward Marcus, as if greeting someone he had been searching for all morning. The security officer walked with calm, confident steps until he stopped only a few feet from Marcus. Everyone watched, expecting questions, commands, or confusion. Instead, the man gave Marcus a respectful nod. "Good morning, sir," he said warmly. "We've been trying to reach you." Marcus returned the greeting with a small smile. "I'm sorry. I kept my phone on silent." "No problem, sir. We were told there might be a delay." Officer Brooks felt the ground shift beneath him. "Sir." The security officer wasn't pretending. His respect sounded genuine. Brooks stepped forward. "Excuse me," he interrupted. "Who exactly are you people?" The suited man turned politely toward him. "We're part of the governor's executive security team." Brooks nodded slowly, trying to stay confident. "I understand that. But why are you stopping here?" The security officer glanced at Marcus before answering. "We're here because of him." Those 6 words hit the officer harder than he expected. Around them, drivers leaned out of their windows, trying to hear the conversation. A delivery driver lowered his coffee cup. A family in a nearby SUV stopped talking altogether. Even Officer Carter looked completely confused. Brooks looked back at Marcus. "You know these people?" Marcus answered with the same calm voice he had used from the beginning. "Yes." "Then why didn't you tell me? You never asked who I knew." The answer wasn't rude. It wasn't sarcastic. It was simply true. For the first time that morning, Officer Brooks realized he had spent more time making assumptions than asking careful questions. Before he could speak again, another message came through his radio. "Unit 12, hold your position." "Repeat, hold your position." Brooks grabbed the microphone. "I've already done that. Can someone please tell me what's happening?" The dispatcher hesitated. "We've been instructed to wait." "Instructed by who?" No answer. Only silence. Brooks lowered the radio slowly. This was no longer an ordinary traffic stop. The lead security officer quietly spoke into his earpiece. "He's safe. Everything is under control." Safe? Why would anyone need to confirm that Marcus was safe? Officer Carter noticed something else. "Look." She pointed toward the center of the convoy. A long black limousine was slowly moving forward. Unlike the SUVs, it had heavily tinted windows and small official flags mounted near the front. Every security officer instantly became more alert. Without anyone giving visible orders, they formed a respectful line along the roadside. Passing traffic came to a complete stop. Even the wind seemed quieter. The limousine rolled forward until it stopped directly beside Marcus. No one spoke. Officer Brooks suddenly realized his hands felt cold. His heartbeat grew louder with every passing second. He looked at Marcus one last time, hoping the quiet driver would finally explain everything. Marcus simply adjusted his jacket and waited. Then, the limousine's rear door unlocked with a soft click. Every eye on the highway turned toward it. A polished black shoe slowly stepped onto the pavement. The person inside still couldn't be seen. But judging by the way every member of the security team immediately stood straighter. Whoever was about to step out was someone even they treated with the highest respect. And Officer Brooks had no idea that the next few seconds were about to change his career forever. The polished black shoe was followed by another. Then a tall man in a navy suit stepped out of the limousine. The entire security team straightened instantly, their eyes focused on him. Without saying a word, he calmly looked around before walking toward Marcus. Officer Brooks held his breath. The man wasn't rushing. He wasn't angry. He simply walked with quiet confidence, as though every second had been carefully planned. When he reached Marcus, something happened that no one standing on that highway expected. The man smiled. "Marcus," he said warmly. "I was beginning to think we'd have to start today's schedule without you." Marcus smiled back. "I wouldn't let that happen." The two men shook hands. Not like strangers. Not like co-workers meeting for the first time. Like people who had known each other for years. Officer Brooks looked at Officer Carter. "Who is that?" Before she could answer, one of the security officers quietly spoke. "That's Governor William Harper." Brooks felt every thought in his mind stop. The governor? Standing here? On the side of a highway? Talking to the man he had pulled over only minutes ago? None of it made sense. The governor turned toward Marcus again. I heard there was a little delay. Marcus gave a small laugh. Nothing serious. The governor looked at Officer Brooks with a calm expression. Has everything been handled professionally? The question sounded simple. But to Brooks, it felt much heavier than that. He quickly stepped forward. Governor, this was only a routine traffic stop. The governor nodded politely. I'm sure it was. There was no anger in his voice. No accusation. Yet Brooks somehow felt more uncomfortable than if the governor had shouted. Marcus noticed the officer's expression. Everything is fine, he said quietly. We've all had unexpected mornings. Brooks looked at Marcus in disbelief. After everything that had happened, Marcus wasn't trying to embarrass him. He wasn't demanding an apology. He wasn't even raising his voice. That calmness was becoming harder and harder to understand. Just then, another black SUV arrived from the opposite direction. It stopped behind the convoy. A middle-aged woman stepped out carrying a thick black folder. She walked directly toward the governor. Sir, she said, handing him the folder. These are the updated travel plans. Instead of opening it himself, the governor immediately handed the folder to Marcus. Would you take one last look before we continue? Marcus accepted it without hesitation. He quickly scanned a few pages. Then he pointed to a map inside. I wouldn't use Route 7 today. The governor listened carefully. Why not? Marcus calmly traced a different road with his finger. This route is shorter, but traffic cameras show heavy construction. If we leave now and take Highway 11 instead, you'll actually arrive 12 minutes earlier. The governor smiled. I knew you'd notice that. Officer Brooks stared in complete silence. This wasn't a lucky guess. This wasn't casual advice. Marcus spoke like someone responsible for planning every detail. The governor closed the folder. Excellent. We'll follow your recommendation. Within seconds, several security officers began speaking into their radios. The entire convoy started changing its planned route. Dozens of trained professionals had just adjusted the governor's schedule. Because of one quiet man in faded jeans. Officer Brooks finally realized something terrifying. He still didn't know who Marcus really was. And somehow, the governor seemed to trust him more than anyone else standing there. The answer was only moments away, but when the truth finally came out, it would leave everyone on that highway completely speechless. Marcus closed the folder and handed it back to the governor without making a big deal out of it. To him, it was just another decision. But to Officer Brooks, it felt like every answer only created a bigger mystery. Who was this quiet man? How could someone dressed so simply change the governor's travel plans with just a few words? The governor thanked Marcus with a firm handshake. I don't know what we'd do without you. Marcus smiled. You'd find another way. The governor laughed. I doubt it. The conversation sounded natural, almost friendly, but every member of the security team listened with complete attention. It was obvious that Marcus's opinion carried real weight. Officer Brooks finally stepped forward. Governor, if you don't mind me asking. The governor looked at him kindly. Go ahead. I'm trying to understand who Mr. Hill is. Before the governor could answer, Marcus quietly spoke. Officer, sometimes a name tells you very little. It's a person's actions that matter. Brooks nodded, but the answer only made him more curious. Just then, one of the senior security agents hurried over with a tablet in his hands. Sir, we've completed the updated route check. He handed the tablet directly to Marcus, not to the governor. Marcus reviewed the information carefully. He zoomed in on a digital map, studied a few traffic alerts, then looked toward the highway ahead. There. He pointed to a small section of the map. Move the lead vehicle one exit earlier. It gives us better visibility and avoids the construction bottleneck. The security agent immediately spoke into his radio. Within seconds, the entire convoy adjusted its formation. Officer Brooks couldn't believe what he was watching. Highly trained professionals weren't asking Marcus for permission out of politeness. They were following his decisions. Officer Carter whispered, I've never seen the governor's team work like this. Neither had Brooks. His confidence had completely disappeared. He replayed the traffic stop in his mind. The unnecessary questions, the assumptions. The way he had mistaken Marcus's calm silence for weakness. For the first time in years, Brooks wondered if he had judged someone far too quickly. The governor noticed the thoughtful look on the officer's face. He walked a little closer. Officer Brooks. Yes, Governor. I appreciate officers who stay alert. Public safety matters. Brooks felt a small sense of relief. Then the governor continued. But experience teaches us something equally important. Brooks waited. Never confuse a person's appearance with their importance. Those words landed quietly. But they carried more weight than any lecture Brooks had ever heard. Marcus didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply stood there with the same quiet dignity he had shown from the beginning. A gentle breeze moved across the highway as the morning traffic slowly began moving again. Everything seemed ready for the convoy to continue its journey. Then another black SUV approached from behind. Unlike the others, it arrived much faster. The driver stopped beside the convoy, stepped out quickly, and walked straight toward Marcus carrying a sealed envelope marked confidential. Without saying a word, he handed it to Marcus. Marcus opened it, read the first page, and for the very first time that morning, his calm expression changed. Only slightly. But it was enough for the governor to notice. "What is it?" the governor asked. Marcus slowly looked up. "If this information is correct." He paused. "We may need to cancel today's entire schedule." Every security officer immediately turned toward him. Officer Brooks felt his heartbeat quicken again. Just when he thought he finally understood who Marcus was, a brand new mystery had appeared. The governor's smile faded the moment he saw Marcus's expression. For the first time that morning, the easy conversation stopped. Every security officer became completely silent. Officer Brooks looked from Marcus to the sealed envelope. "What happened?" he asked quietly. Marcus didn't answer right away. He read the page one more time, making sure he hadn't missed anything. Then he folded it carefully and handed it to the governor. The governor scanned the first few lines. His face became serious. "How reliable is this information?" he asked. Marcus replied without hesitation. "The source has never been wrong." Those words sent a wave of tension through the entire convoy. Nobody panicked. Nobody shouted. Instead, every member of the security team began moving with calm precision, speaking softly into their radios and checking their surroundings. Officer Brooks had never seen professionals work like this. Everything looked controlled. Everything looked planned. Yet everyone understood that something important had just changed. Brooks stepped a little closer. "Governor, is there a threat?" The governor looked at Marcus before answering. "I'll let him decide what we share." Again. Everyone waited for Marcus. The officer could hardly believe it. Even the governor trusted Marcus's judgment first. Marcus turned toward Brooks. "There may be a security concern farther along today's route. Is the governor in danger?" "We don't know that yet." "Then why not continue?" Marcus looked toward the highway stretching into the distance. "Because guessing is never a security plan." Officer Brooks slowly nodded. For the first time since the traffic stop began, he wasn't looking at Marcus as an ordinary driver. He was looking at someone whose decisions protected lives. Just then, one of the senior security agents hurried over. "Sir." Marcus faced him. "We checked the information against our live systems. And the first report appears to be correct." Another heavy silence followed. The governor closed the folder in his hands. "What do you recommend?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. He looked at the road. The nearby bridges. The overpasses. The traffic moving in both directions. He noticed details that no one else seemed to notice. Finally, he spoke. "We cancel the original route." The security agent immediately repeated the order over his radio. Within seconds, every SUV in the convoy began changing position. Officer Brooks watched in amazement. No one questioned Marcus. No one argued. His recommendation instantly became the new plan. Officer Carter whispered, "Who gives orders like that without wearing a uniform?" Brooks quietly answered, "Someone everyone trusts." Marcus turned back toward the governor. "The delay may have saved us valuable time." The governor nodded. "I trust your judgment." Those simple words revealed more than any official title could. Officer Brooks finally gathered the courage to ask the question that had been growing in his mind since the beginning. "Mr. Hill." Marcus looked at him. "What exactly is your job?" For the first time all morning, Marcus gave a slightly different smile. Not mysterious. Not amused. Just honest. "I help make sure people return home safely." Before Brooks could ask another question, the senior security agent returned carrying an official identification case. He handed it to Marcus with both hands. "Sir. I think it's time." Marcus looked down at the case for a quiet moment. Then he slowly opened it. Officer Brooks caught a brief glimpse of a government identification card. along with a gold security credential unlike anything he had ever seen. His eyes widened. He had never seen that level of clearance before. And in the next few moments, Marcus's full identity would finally answer every question that had haunted the highway since the very first flashing blue light. Marcus held the identification case for a brief moment before opening it completely. The morning sunlight reflected off the gold credential inside. Officer Brooks couldn't read every word from where he stood, but one thing was obvious. This was no ordinary government ID. The senior security agent stepped back respectfully. "Everything is ready, sir." Marcus nodded. "Thank you." Governor Harper turned toward Officer Brooks. "I believe you've been wondering who Mr. Hill really is." Brooks swallowed. "Yes, Governor." The governor smiled gently. "You're about to find out." Marcus closed the identification case and looked directly at Brooks. "My full name is Marcus Hill." Brooks nodded. "I know that much." Marcus continued. "I serve as the governor's senior protective security advisor." The word seemed to freeze the entire highway. Officer Brooks blinked twice. He had expected Marcus to be someone important. Maybe a government employee. Maybe a senior consultant. But this? He had never imagined it. Marcus continued speaking in the same calm voice. "My team plans travel routes, reviews security risks, and helps protect public officials during major events." Officer Carter quietly whispered, "That's why everyone listened to him." Brooks finally understood. The folder. The maps. The convoy. The radios. The route changes. None of it had been a coincidence. Marcus wasn't simply traveling with the governor. He was one of the people responsible for keeping the governor safe. Brooks slowly lowered his eyes. "I judged you before I knew anything about you." Marcus didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the traffic beginning to move again. "You weren't the first person to do that." Brooks expected anger. He expected disappointment. Instead, Marcus smiled. "The important thing is what we learn afterward." Those words stayed with Brooks. They weren't spoken to embarrass him. They were spoken to teach him. Governor Harper stepped closer. "Marcus has spent nearly 15 years helping protect people during thousands of public events." He paused for a moment. "And do you know what impresses me most?" Brooks shook his head. "He never forgets to treat every person with respect." The governor wasn't praising Marcus's job. He was praising his character. That realization hit Brooks harder than anything else that morning. Just then, one of the security officers received another message through his earpiece. He quickly walked toward Marcus. "Sir." Marcus looked up. "We've completed another review." And the earlier security concern wasn't the only issue. Marcus's expression became serious again. "What else did you find?" The officer handed him a digital tablet. Marcus studied the screen carefully. The governor waited without interrupting. After several quiet seconds, Marcus looked toward the road ahead. "This changes everything." Officer Brooks felt his heartbeat rise once again. He had finally learned Marcus's identity. He thought the biggest mystery was over. But Marcus's next words proved he was wrong. "We're not dealing with one problem anymore," Marcus said quietly. "There are two." The governor looked at him carefully. "Can they still continue?" Marcus slowly shook his head. "No." He closed the tablet and looked toward the convoy. "If we leave now without changing the entire plan." He stopped for just a moment. "Someone else could be placed in unnecessary danger." The security team immediately moved into action once again. Officer Brooks watched in complete silence. He realized this story had never been about a simple traffic stop. And somehow, the most important decision of the entire day had still not been made. Marcus looked at the security team, then slowly folded the tablet and handed it back to the senior agent. "Move everyone to the updated route immediately," he said. The order was calm. But within seconds, every security officer began moving with even greater focus. Radios came alive. Drivers started their engines. Team leaders quietly confirmed new positions. Officer Brooks watched in disbelief. One sentence from Marcus had changed the plans of an entire governor's convoy. No one questioned him. No one hesitated. Governor Harper turned toward Brooks with a reassuring smile. "Officer, thank you for staying patient. Sometimes the safest decision is the one people don't fully understand." Brooks nodded. "I understand that now." The governor placed a hand on Brooks's shoulder. "We all make quick judgments from time to time. What matters is whether we're willing to learn from them." Those words stayed with Brooks. He thought back to the moment he had first seen Marcus's old pickup truck. He had assumed the driver was just another ordinary traveler. He had looked at the truck, the clothes, the quiet voice, and he believed he already knew the whole story. He had been completely wrong. Just then, another security officer approached Marcus. "Sir, we've finished checking the alternate route." Marcus looked up. "Any concerns?" The officer smiled for the first time all morning. "Everything is clear." A quiet feeling of relief spread through the team. Governor Harper nodded. "Good. Then we'll continue." Before anyone returned to their vehicles, Marcus walked back toward Officer Brooks. For a moment, neither man spoke. Finally, Brooks broke the silence. "I owe you an apology." Marcus gently shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I judged you before I knew who you were." Marcus smiled. "No." Brooks looked confused. "You judged me before you knew what kind of person I was." The words caught Brooks completely off guard. Marcus continued. "My title isn't the lesson today." Brooks listened carefully. "My job could change tomorrow. My truck could change. My clothes could change. But character." He paused. "That's what people should notice first." Officer Carter quietly smiled. She knew those words would stay with everyone standing there long after the convoy had disappeared. Just then, the governor walked back over. "Marcus." "Yes, Governor. I'd like Officer Brooks to join us for a moment." Brooks looked surprised. "Me?" The governor nodded. "I want you to see something." Together, they walked toward the lead SUV. Inside, several large digital screens displayed maps, traffic cameras, weather updates, and live road information. Brooks had never seen anything like it. Marcus pointed toward one of the maps. "This is why we changed the route." Brooks leaned closer. Only then did he notice a major traffic accident several miles ahead on the governor's original route. Emergency crews were already arriving. Roads were being closed. Traffic had completely stopped. Brooks slowly looked back at Marcus. "If we hadn't delayed here." Marcus quietly finished the sentence. "The convoy would have been trapped in that traffic." Governor Harper nodded. "And today's schedule would have placed hundreds of people behind us in unnecessary delays." Brooks took a deep breath. What had seemed like an inconvenient traffic stop had unexpectedly helped avoid a much larger problem. But as everyone prepared to leave, Marcus's secure phone vibrated once more. He glanced at the screen. His calm smile disappeared. The message contained only 6 words. "This situation isn't over. Check behind you." Marcus slowly turned around. And what he saw made him stop in his tracks. Marcus slowly turned around. A second convoy was approaching, but this one wasn't part of the governor's team. The senior security agent checked the message again, then smiled with relief. "It's our advance unit," he said. "They found another road issue before we reached it." Marcus nodded. "Then today's delay wasn't a mistake. It gave us the time we needed." Governor Harper looked at Officer Brooks one last time. "Never judge a person by what you see first. Respect is always the safest choice." Brooks would never forget those words. What would you have done if you were Officer Brooks? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy powerful hidden identity stories filled with suspense, justice, and unforgettable reveals, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll see you in the next story.